for fuck's sake. Good morning, everyone, and we're back again. I've just spilt my tea, so I've got to mop that up. Good morning, and welcome to a bit of a socky property Q&A, property finance Q&A. So welcome along. You know, when you're doing live broadcasts, here's one thing not to do: don't knock your tea over. There we are. So here we are. We're back with another property finance Q&A, and if you're here for the first time, what do? Well, you asked me some questions about any aspect of property finance, and I will answer the question. So there we are. Right, spilt tea, all mopped up. So here we are then. A bit of an unexpected start, but there we are. So a few people saying good morning, and we're going to get into the questions pretty soon. So, you know, I hang around here for approximately 30 minutes, I say, although having said 30 minutes, it tends to drag on for getting on for an hour or so. Maybe drag on's not the right word to use, but listen, if you're getting some value out of the questions that you ask, then great. Hey, and if you're watching, you've jumped on live, a load of people jumping on live now, so that's great to see. And if you happen to be watching the replay of this, well, thanks for watching the replay. In fact, just give me a hashtag replay in the comments so that I know that you've watched it. There we are. So Sam May's popped up there and says, give us a smile. There we are. It's a smile. Yeah, hard to smile when you knock your tea over unexpectedly, but there we are. So, but good. Okay, so yeah, this is what we do Monday mornings. Pretty much every Monday morning, 8:30, I'll jump on here for half hour or maybe a bit longer, and you fire some questions about property finance and I'll give you the answers. And if you like this as a resource, so property finance Wikipedia type thing, then you can actually get access to all of the back catalogue of these. And we've got pretty much a year's now, well over 50 hours worth of content that you can get access to. And the brilliant thing is it's got a word search facility. So, for example, if you want to find out anything that I've said over the last year about HMOs, so in the word search, you just type HMO and up comes almost instantaneously every point at the precise point of the recording where I say the word HMO. You'll get that, so you can watch each clip. Now, if you find that useful, well, there's an easy way to do it. Join Fiverr Tribe. And if you're thinking, what is Fiverr Tribe? Well, it's my little monthly subscription. And I'm just going to find the link here, where you get access to all of that. And not just that, you get exclusive videos that I don't post on YouTube. I'll copy that, and on any of the events that I run, you'll get discounts to those as well, and the discounts would add up to actually more than your annual subscription. So let's pop that in there. There we are. So, and what would that set you back to join Fiverr Tribe? Well, there's a clue in the name. It's £5 a month. So not a king's ransom there, is it? Okay. So slurp the tea. Lots of people saying good morning. So some names recognizable, some not. But morning, great to see you here. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's live or on the replay. So where do we start? Always try and start at the top of the comments, and then religiously work my way down so that I don't miss any out. So we do that. And Rob, good to see you. There we are, Rob Williamson. We've been chatting over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So what's your question, Rob? Let's read that out. Always like to put the questions on screen so you can read what someone's asking as well as just listen to me repeat the question. I think that helps, don't you? So when purchasing a house with cash or bridging, do you have to wait and own the property for 6 months before refinancing? And if that's true, why is that? Okay. So do you have to? No, you don't have to. You can do, but you don't have to. Because some mortgage lenders, and they tend to be the sort of mainstream, what you call vanilla type mortgage lenders, they make you wait 6 months. So if you make an application to them in advance of 6 months of owning the property, they just boot it straight back out again and say, come back when you've owned it 6 months. But there are lenders that choose not to do that. So, of course, you can choose one of those if you wish to, or you can wait the full 6 months. So if you need a quick, fast turnaround, then use mortgage lenders that don't make you wait 6 months. And if you're happy to hang on for a bit longer, then wait the 6 months and then apply for a mortgage. Now, it's fair to say that if you do wait the 6 months, you'll get a wider choice of lenders. And when you get a wider choice of lenders, that usually means that some of the rates are more competitive. Not massively so, but you'll get marginally better rates. So it's a balancing act. Do you want to keep your cash tied up for a bit longer to get a better rate deal, or do you want to incur higher bridging costs by running it a few extra months to get a better deal? Or is it more important to turn your cash around or get the bridging paid off more quickly? You can decide that. Neither's wrong or right, they're just different. So for the lenders that do that, why do they do that? Well, they never used to do that. This only came into effect, this 6 months ownership. It's often called a 6 month rule, which is a bit over egging it a bit, because it's not a rule. It's a voluntary thing that some mortgage lenders choose to do, others don't. So clearly, if it was a rule, everyone would be doing it. So before the credit crunch, you've got to go back, in the midst of time, a few years, more than a decade ago. And before that, there was a lot of what they call back-to-back sales. So people would buy it and refinance it straight away. And lenders were in part okay with that. One in particular, Mortgage Express, actively sourced that market, so you could do very quick refinances. And in the aftermath of the credit crunch, when lending went AWOL, really, then all sorts of new criteria came into place, and one of them was a 6 month ownership restriction. So that was introduced to make it more difficult to do these back-to-back sales. Some lenders feel more comfortable if you've owned the property for 6 months. So there we are. Good question, Rob. Hope you got the answer you're looking for. Excellent. Yeah, there's Sam with his give us a smile. Yeah, I'm always smiling. There we are. Other people saying good morning. Okay, here we are. Facebook user. Okay, so I use a StreamYard, which allows me to stream this out in different formats. So it streams it out into YouTube, and I can see people are watching through YouTube, streams it out into some Facebook pages of mine, and also some Facebook groups, both mine and what others that I'm in. Now, one of the things with Facebook is that it protects your identity unless you give StreamYard permission to publish your name. So when you don't, it just comes up as Facebook user. And then when I dig around later, and I'll find actually who it was. So lenders that will lend based on GDV when it comes to bridging. I see some lenders don't require a deposit. Well, most bridging lenders don't lend on GDV. They lend on true current value. And pretty much they will all require a deposit. So I'm not quite sure what you're alluding to there, but I think you got your wires crossed a bit there, because bridgers invariably, in almost all circumstances, do require a deposit. There are a couple of exceptions to that, because there's always an exception that proves the rule. So happy to drill down with you later. You know, I'll go through the comments later and see exactly what you mean by that. But yeah, so you know, you've got some misaligned understandings there. Okay, so there we are. So I can see a few regular users coming on there. Genie, Sunil, Aston. Good to see Marilyn there. I know you're in my Facebook group, Marilyn, but haven't seen you pop up on the Facebook Lives before. But even though you're coming through YouTube, but good to see you. Okay, so here's Richard. Richard's one of my mentoring colleagues on one of the mentoring groups that I run, Ninja Achievers. So great, always great to see you here, Richard. Will a bridger's valuer look at a property purely on the bricks and mortar value, or will it be based on the type of bridging that's applied for? Okay, so you've got an example, so let's drill down that so I can understand where your thinking is on this. So, for example, if you were going to a refurb bridge, okay, so for those that are watching, don't know what refurb bridge is, that's where they lend you typically 70 or 75% of the purchase price, but also 100% of the refurb costs as well. So we do quite a lot. We broker quite a lot of those deals, right? Okay. So if you're doing a refurb bridge, but then decided a market value bridge might work better. So market value bridge is where they lend on the value, not the purchase price. See, every mortgage lender is going to lend on the lower of the purchase price or the value. But market value bridges lend on the lower of the asking price or value. So that cuts down the deposit. In fact, I've done actually probably my most viewed video on YouTube is that. Let me find that one and pop that in there. How to shrink your deposit to way less than 25%. So this is about market value bridging. Let me find that one. And where is that? Yeah, let's pop that on there. Yeah, just so that those that are not sure what I'm talking about can go off and watch this video. I'll pop that in the chat box. Okay, so would there be a okay, so if it was a refurb bridge or a market value bridge, would there be potentially a different value depending on which type of bridge? Right, get your question now, Richard. No, there wouldn't. So in both cases, whether it's a refurb bridge or a market value bridge, true current value is the way that it's valued. So not what it might be worth in the future, or what it what the asking price is. True current value is the way that they would be worked. Sunil said, I see what you're doing, Sunil. You're picking up where I said I'm on here pretty much every Monday morning. Well, you're absolutely right. Next Monday morning, because it's Easter Monday, I won't be on. I'm going to give myself a break and everyone else a break. And I think don't need to be doing this on an Easter Monday morning. So yes, it'll be the next one after today will be 2 weeks from today, into April. What is that? Is it the 10th, 11th, something like that? Yeah. So correct. I won't be. If you tune in next Monday morning, you won't be seeing me. There we are. So, okay. What else we got? Got any more questions here? Yeah, quite a few rolling in now. That's good. Okay, scrolling down carefully so I don't miss anyone. Okay, you're right. Another Facebook user. If I get a vendor to agree to an EDC, that's an exchange with delayed completion. Can then refinance the property onto a mortgage against the uplifted value instead of the purchase price? Yeah, good question. Often get asked it. Answer: no, you can't. Why is that? You're probably asking. Here's a very simple reason. Mortgage lending is based on the lower of the purchase price or the value when you buy the property. So you do all of that. You exchange contracts. You get the keys. You jump in there. You do a refurb, and then you get a mortgage lender's value to come round and say, "Hey, look, this property is worth tens of thousands more than I bought it for." And the mortgage lender's value is going to say, "So what? Your mortgage is based on the purchase price." So no, that won't work. If you're going to do that, you've actually got to buy the property first using cash or bridging finance if you haven't got cash. And then once you own it, then you apply for a mortgage. And now, once you already own a property, mortgage lenders are at least willing to consider lending it against the uplift value. So yeah, it's a common thought process, but again, actually misaligned. You've got to buy the property first before any mortgage lender is going to consider against the uplifted value. Good. Okay, thanks for your question. Next one. We've got Ryan coming in from YouTube. Good to see you, Ryan. What loan to value could I get for a second charge mortgage and a minimum loan for my home? Okay. I owe 119k on my resi mortgage and it's worth roughly 310. Okay. Now, if you want to get a second charge mortgage, now you could either go back to your current lender where you owe the 119 and say, "Hey, can we have a further advance?" That's pretty cost effective usually because you've got no legal fees. You've typically got no arrangement fees, as some mortgage lenders may charge that. But it's usually quite a cost-effective way to do it. Or you could go to a separate lender, and there are specific second charge lenders around. Rates are higher than if you get a further advance on your mortgage, but with your current mortgage lender. But that's the way to do it. Now, both of those, because it's your main residence, the limiting factor is going to be your earnings. So, and not just your earnings, any credit commitments you got and your lifestyle expenses. So that could be the limit. I mean, you've got a bundle of equity there you could use, but how much you can use is going to be determined by your income. So that may be the biggest limiting factor. But if you're looking to do that, hey, Ryan, this is something we can help you with. So just ping me a message. Let me give you an easy way to get in touch with me. It's just hop over to Facebook at an appropriate time, and I've got a Facebook page called Kevin Wright, Property Finance Expert. Why do I say that? Because I've been brokering finance for more than 20 years. Let's copy that in there, pop that in there. So just look in the chat box, scroll down on the chat box, and you'll see my thing. Just ping me a message there. I check my inbox on a daily basis. So if you want us to actually work with you and see how much you can raise, then happy to do that, Ryan. Thanks for your question. Now, there's a Facebook question. Can I? Now, I'm guessing that might be linked to that one. Yeah, can't see which name it is. Yeah. So I think that's what we mean there. Okay. So otherwise, it's a bit of an interesting question. Can I? Altaf, there we are. Good to see you, my friend. There we are. Okay. So your question is: after undertaking a refurb using a bridge, Okay, what tips can you give us to ensure that the valuation for a buy to let will come up to expectations? Okay, very common question. Now, I've done a video on that one as well. I'm going to find that and put the link in here for Altaf and anyone else. Because what typically happens is it doesn't come up to expectations, it falls below that, and you get what's often called a refinance down valuation. So there are specific reasons for that. I'm going to give you a link to this. There we are. Let's put that one in there. The deal actually is still stuck in it, and if it's still stuck in, there we are. So yeah, I'll give you an overview there, but go and watch that video, Altaf. That'll give you more. Okay, so what investors tend to do, and this is the mistake, is they tend to rely pretty much entirely or mostly on comparable values. So property 5 doors down sold for 150 a few months ago. Therefore, my property must be worth 150 regardless of what I paid for it and regardless what I've done to it. And that isn't the way that mortgage lenders, valuers think. And having arranged, I don't know how many hundreds of mortgages I've arranged over, the last 20 odd years, but I spent quite a bit of time with mortgage lenders, valuers, and I know how they think, and that's not how they think. So what you need to do is you need to present a robust case detailing the work that you've done on the refurb that you believe's added the value. And the more comprehensive you make it, the more likely you're going to get a valuation that comes up to expectations. Thanks for your questions, Altaf. Good. Okay. So another Facebook user. Morning. My loan has a condition with regards to the Libor rate. Okay. So Libor is the now let me think. I haven't thought about that for a few years. London interbank ordinary rate. Not sure about the O, but yeah. So it runs in parallel typically to the Bank of England base rate. It's not the same as the Bank of England base rate, usually a bit higher, but there we are. So if your Libor rate changes within more than 1% during the term, my interest rate will go up with the same overall percentage. Yeah, okay. Now, Libor rates have been recently consigned to history. So Libor rates have been scrapped. So you should have had notification from your mortgage lender that in future it's going to be linked to the Bank of England base rate, not Libor rate. So Libor rate has been around for donkey's years, but they've decided that it's a bit of an anachronism, and so they've scrapped it. So yes, if you're on a variable rate mortgage and rates increase, then your rate will go up. Now, what you tend to find with mortgage lenders, I mean, we've sort of lost this, really, haven't we, since the credit crunch, because we've had the lowest interest rates now, in what, 300 years. But go back before the credit crunch, when interest rates were going up and down fairly regularly, and mortgage rates were doing the same. So typically, the way that mortgage lenders react to a change in interest rates is when the bank rate goes up, the very next month, their interest goes up. So they're very quick to implement an increase in base rate. When the base rate comes down, they tend to drag their feet and get round to it over the next few months. Funny that. So when base rates drop, then you tend to have to wait longer to see that taking effect on your interest rate. Of course, if you're in a fixed rate mortgage, it makes no difference, does it? Because the rate is fixed. So there we are. Thanks for your question. Daniel, great. Good to see you. What if you have a limited company? Yeah, what if you have a limited company? Not quite sure what your question is there, Daniel. So if you want to expand on that a bit, so I get a question about. I can understand what in respect to a limited company you want to ask. Happy to answer it. Limited companies have been used far more extensively since the George Osborne introduced differences in how limited companies and personally owned properties are taxed and treated back in 2016. So since that time, there's been a significant migration over to owning properties in limited companies rather than your personal name. So feel free to ping back in there and say what it is about limited companies you want to ask. Okay, another Facebook user says, is buying every property deal, either buy to let or bridge to let, better in a separate limited company every time? Don't see why it should be. It's not going to do you. Now, the one person that will be pleased if you do that is your accountant. Now, you'd make your accountant very happy if you did a separate limited company, because they're going to have to do a set of accounts for every limited company, and that's probably going to cost you the best part of £1,000 per year per company. So you got 10 limited companies. You probably get a very large bottle of whiskey in the post at Christmas from your accountant. But there's no real reason why you would do that. I know some people do bring in different business partners. So they will have business partner A, business partner B, business partner C, and so on. So they would, in that case, you'd probably want a different company for each, because you want to separate out, each a business partner. Other than that, can't really see why you would want to do that. It's just very cost intensive. Thanks for your question. Here we are. So we got A.S. Smith. Good to see you back again. Can I do commercial to resi conversion with a 999-year lease? Yeah, you can do that. No reason why you can't. So sometimes the answers are very simple, aren't they? Yeah. And if you've got one of those, then let us help you broker it. So just ping me a message on my Property Finance Expert link. Gave you that there. So I'd be very happy to help you on that. Good. Rob says, great, thanks. My pleasure, Rob, no problem. Aston is here. Hello, Aston. Good to see you. Regular on here, and again with me on one of my mentorship groups. Do bridging lenders have any length of offer on their terms? I know most mortgage offers have a 3 or 6 months offer period, just out of interest if you had to delay the completion and draw down half. Well, when a bridger quotes you, it's usually good for 7 days, maybe 14. That doesn't mean to say if you go back in a month's time, they're going to give you different terms. But what that does is it gives them the ability to give different terms if circumstances change. Invariably, they don't change. So yeah, not mostly it's 7 days. So if you don't take it up with 7 days, they reserve the right to re-quote you different terms, but invariably they quote you exactly the same terms when you come back. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. And you're straight in there with another one. Wow, double fire, bang, bang questions. Okay, so are there any similar limitations with bridging? i.e., if you want to secure a property and exchange contracts now, but only want to complete in a few months' time? Yeah, You could secure the property in exchange contract. So this is exchange with delayed completion, which we were talking about earlier. So yeah, you could do that. But again, the bridger would reserve the right to alter the conditions, the terms. If you're actually drawing down the bridge and starting the loan, in several weeks or even months' time. So in the reality, we've been doing this for years, and the reality is you get exactly the same terms that they said originally, but they always give themselves a wriggle room to get out of it. Good. Okay, so a few more questions coming in here, making sure I don't miss any. Scrolling back here. See, it jumps as well. It just, I don't know why, but it just sort of leaps down several things, and I have to scroll back carefully, make sure I don't miss anything. Let's start the next one. When would you recommend to apply for a mortgage to pay the bridging back once you've received the bridging, or a few months later? Okay, so you would apply for a mortgage when it was suitable. Now, you're going to have the property in tip-top condition. So if you're buying something that needs work doing to it, then don't apply for a mortgage until the work's done. Because one of the first things that a mortgage lender does with their application is get their surveyor around, or their valuer around. And you don't want to let the valuer in there until it's looking its best. Otherwise, you're going to get a reduced valuation. So that's the first thing. So if there's anything that you need to do, it maybe you need to get planning permission. It's usually a refurb, but it could be planning permission. So you need to, whatever you're doing to improve the value of the property, tangible improvements to the property, then you need to get that done before you start applying for a mortgage. Now, whether that's straight away or whether that's a few months later, that's down to you. It depends what you're doing. A few more people jumping in and saying good morning. There we are. So let's scroll down. Make sure I haven't missed anyone. Ron's saying good morning. Ron's on my advanced training Ninja Investor program. Here we are. Here's one. Patsy, thanks for your question. See, Patsy's just given permission for StreamYard to use her name, so it comes up as Patsy. So if I have a house already let but with no mortgage, okay, nice position to be in, must say. To carry on and create a small portfolio using the equity, do I take out the full 75% in the existing house in one lump, or do I remortgage as I go along? As I've heard, there needs to be a 6-month delay between each mortgage. Okay, so you certainly wouldn't take out a mortgage and a few months later pay that back and move it to a different lender, because that would really annoy the first lender. And of course, if that's your intention and you told them that was the intention, they would never give you the mortgage in the first place. So you don't want to be, and of course, you've got, every time you do that, apart from the fact that the lender doesn't like it, you've got legal fees, you've got valuation fees, you may have broker fees too. So it's quite expensive to keep going back and refinancing your property just to grab a bit more money. So that wouldn't seem to make a lot of sense for all those reasons. You could go back to your original lender, like I said on a previous question, and ask for a further advance, because a further advance shouldn't have any of those expenses. So if you're going to do that, that would be the preferred choice if you want to take it back in piecemeal. But I guess, it's difficult to say without knowing what the value of your property is, and you might not want to post that on this sort of place. But yeah, I mean, it depends how, if on your first stab at it, how much of the 75% are you going to take? If you're only going to take 25% and it's going to be another couple of years, let's say, until you want some more, then there could be an argument for doing that and just going back for a further advance in a couple of years' time. If you're more, if you've got a more accelerated way, or if you're going to take 50% out at your first chunk, you might as well take the rest out. So, you know, you can do it both ways, Patsy. But again, I'd need to know a bit more detail about, you know, what sort of value that property is, and how much of it you want to take out at first to be able to give you more guidance. But hey, ping me a message and let's hook up, and I can guide you on that. Thanks for your question. So Sean's coming in now here with and saying, see a lot of contradiction which buying property through a limited company or personal. Do you have any advice to help make this decision? I do, Sean. Yes. Now, the first question is, why would you want to go limited? You know, the natural thing is to buy it in your own name. So there would have to be a reason why you would want to buy it in a limited company. So what is that reason? That's the first thing to say to yourself, is to ask yourself the question, why am I thinking about doing this in a limited company? What benefit do I hope to gain out of doing it in a limited company? Now, in most cases, there's a notion of saving tax. I'm going to save tax. That's the reason. And why are you doing this? So are you doing this because you've had specific advice from an accountant to say, hey, if you put your properties in a limited company and bought them through a limited company, you're going to save X amount a year on tax? Or you're just reading what other people are doing and following the herd? So which is it? Now, maybe it's because you think you can save some tax. Well, thinking you can save some tax is a bit woolly, isn't it, really? You want to be a bit more precise on that. So what you should be doing is talking to an accountant, and preferably a property savvy accountant. And I know a few of those, if you don't, and saying, well, here's what I'm going to do in property. Can you tell me on an annual basis how much tax I'm going to save? Now, the amount of tax you're going to save is going to be influenced to quite a large degree to your current tax status. Do you pay tax at the basic rate, or are you already over £50,000 of earnings and you pay tax at the higher rate? Because if you pay tax at the higher rate, you're going to make more saving, because you're going to pay 40% tax on any profits on property in your personal name. And of course, you can't write off the mortgage interest as a business expense like you can with a limited company. If you're a basic rate taxpayer, that you may save some tax, but the question is, do you save enough tax? Because here's the big thing that happens when you start buying a limited company. Number one, as I mentioned previously, your accountant is going to charge you more to prepare your accounts. So the great thing to ask your accountant is, when you're asking them about the tax saving, is to say, and what will be the difference in your fees? So how much will you charge me to prepare sole trader accounts, and how much would you charge me to prepare limited company accounts? And almost certainly they won't be the same. Limited company accounts involve more work for an accountant. Accountant's got more to do to prepare limited company accounts, so naturally they would charge more. So you want to get some qualification around that. Now, the other side of it, from a brokering point of view, excuse me, I can tell you that mortgage interest rates for limited companies will be higher. So it will cost you money to arrange mortgages in a limited company name, because the best rates are for people that borrow in their own name. So if you're smart about this, you'll go to your accountant and say, hey, how much tax can I save on an annual basis, and how much more are you going to charge me? You go to your mortgage broker, us hopefully, go to your mortgage broker and say, hey, how much are my mortgage costs going to increase each year? You compare one against the other and you see which one is the greater. So there's no point going limited if you end up worse off because the mortgage costs and your higher accounting fees outweigh the tax savings that you make. There we are. So, Sean, does that help? Thanks for your question. Now, where are we going? Yeah, we've rolled on past the. I say I'm here for half an hour. Rarely does it fizzle out that quickly. So, okay, now let's see where we go. Here's the next one. Facebook user. Yeah. We're a bit of a throat this morning. Sorry about that. We're looking at a deal, purchase price 1.1. Guessing that's 1.1 million. Works 900. GDV, gross development value, for people that don't know that abbreviation, 3.6 million. We can raise 500k. Would a lender look at this deal, and could I get borrowing for both the purchase and the works? Yes, you could. Well, in theory, you could. I don't know your personal circumstances, but let's examine what this is. So this would be development finance. If you're going to buy a property, I don't know what it is, whether it's offices or whether it's a commercial resi conversion, doesn't really matter. If you're going to pay 1.1 million and spend 900k, then so you're looking at roughly 2 million to make it worth 3.6. Now that's a pretty good deal because you've got well over £1 million of profit in that. So that would be very well received by development finance lenders because they like juicy deals with lots of profit in there, lowers their risk. Now they would certainly take 500k as a deposit. They would lend you the remaining 600,000 to buy the site, and they would lend you 100% of the 900,000 works. So yeah, so absolutely, you've got the financial ability to do a deal of that size. Okay. Now, depending on what it is, you probably need some experience. Either you or anyone else that you're collaborating with to do the project would need some experience, because that doesn't sound like, a 2-bed semi. Okay, could be a 2-bed semi in Chelsea, maybe, but it's not this. So it sounds like it's a bigger deal, and bigger deals want more experience. So the only barrier could be your prior experience in works of this size. Now, be very happy to jump in and help you broker that. So we do quite a lot of these type of deals. So yeah, really happy to drill down on that. So get in touch. Ping me a message in my Property Finance Expert. You saw the link earlier in the page, and do come along. So and let's chat. Love to help you on that. Okay, so if you're liking this, let me tell you some things that are going on. Well, I've got a Facebook group, Recycle Your Cash for Property Investors. If you're not in it already, and some of you undoubtedly will be, then come and join me, because we chat about stuff like this in there. You can fire questions in there. You don't have to wait till a Monday morning to do it. You can fire questions in there any day of the week and I'll answer them. So let's find you a link for that. Pop that in the chat box. Now, if you want to learn more about recycling your cash, then and spend a bit more time than just asking a question, but get some learning, then I've got a couple of ways for you to do that. I do a online event called a Property Finance Masterclass. I've got the next one coming up on the 10th of April. I'm going to put the link to that in there. We are. Let's pop that in the chat box. So yeah, that's it'll run Saturday, 10th of April, 10 to 3 p.m. and it's what is it, $24.91 plus VAT. So come along, I'm going to give you a lot more information about how to do recycle your cash or buy, refurb, refinance. Actually, we'll take down that thing there now. But if you want to do this face to face, hey, we're coming out of lockdown, and I'm going to restart live in-person events, COVID secure, of course, with lots of protocols to keep all of us safe. But I've got a brand new event coming up this year that starts. I think the first one is London on 24th of April on a Saturday, followed by Birmingham, Bristol, and Leeds in the coming months, and that's where we'll rock up in a hotel meeting room for a day, and I'll run through the same sort of things about buy, refurb, refinance. You know, this is the skill to learn if you're going to learn anything in property to push you further, faster, and higher. Got to learn how to pull your cash out of a property. Great thing about the buy, refurb, refinance summit is I've got 2 additional speakers about related things. So, you know, auctions or tax or refurb management, all that type of thing. So I'm going to be running, you know, different experts are going to be at different meetings. So let me give you a link to that. I think this is new for 2021. It's a new event that I'm running this year. I think it's going to be you know, really, really great. So let me find the link for that. Copy that. Pop that in the chat. There we are. So there's 3 things in the chat there. If any of those appeal to you, the BRR Summit, £47 plus VAT. There are some VIP tickets available to that at 97, but that'll all be clear when you log on the link. So yeah, if you want to drill down in more detail, you want to join that Facebook group, then feel free. Love to see you at any of those things. So here we are. Got a few more questions to answer before we wrap up today. So Ron, there we are. Good to see you, Ron. Ron's on my advanced training program, Ninja Investor program. Do lenders judge how much to lend to you on 100% development finance? Yes, they do. They judge how much to lend to you. It's going to be based on a percentage of the GDV, gross development value. So that they'll always lend you 100% of the works costs. They'll usually lend you between 50 and 70% of the purchase price, but based on the GDV, if they scale back anything, it's not going to be 100% of the works cost. They're going to scale back the deposit to, they can increase your deposit to purchase. Good. Yeah, we're already working together, Ron. So, you know, whenever you get a deal, then we'll just broker that for you. Rob, good to see you. With house prices going up steadily, how is this affecting mortgage company valuations for refinancing? Well, you know, they're always working on current market conditions with one eye, but then they've also got an eye on what could happen in the future. So at the moment, they are concerned about if there's going to be a dip. Once we come out of lockdown, once the stamp duty holiday finishes fully in September, as is currently the plan, then they're going to have an eye to that and try and sort of predict what effect it's going to have on that. So they're always alert and aware of potential downturns in the market and try and factor those into their valuations. You know, so property valuing is not an exact science. So, you know, if you got, I mean, you wouldn't, but if you got 5 valuers round to value a property, you would get 5 different valuations, all within a tolerance level, but they would all have a slightly different angle on what they thought the property was worth. Thanks for your question. So JC's back again. Good to see you, JC. Do you also broker mortgages for personal residential homes? Main residence mortgages? Absolutely, we do. So just get in touch, ping me a message. You've got my links there, and we'd be very happy to broker your main residence mortgage. Yeah, nice easy question there. Okay, here we go. So ticker, presumably. Can I get a bridging loan to buy a property if the purchased price is 260 and I have only 40k? No, because you've got around, I mean, that's what, not even 15% really. And you're going to have, you know, best part of £10,000 on stamp duty. No, you're going to need more cash, or the comparable values make no difference. So no one's going to give you that sort of lending with such a small amount of money. Okay. You know, 40k is not necessarily a small amount of money, but it is in relation to that sort of property. Now, you're going to need more cash, or you're going to need a property that you own already that's got at least 50% equity in it that we can do cross-collateral bridging on. But give me a call, or you know, pop a message in my Property Finance Expert inbox, and I'll look to help you with that. Thanks for your question. Here we are. Peter, good to see you back. Getting a commercial mortgage on a limited company or LLP, limited liability partnership, which entity will get the best product? We'll have a wider choice, Peter, on limited companies. Lenders are more in tune with lending to limited companies than limited liability partnerships. So, you know, it's a bit of a generalization, but if you've got a wider choice of products on limited companies, you would expect to get better deals simply because there's wider choice. Again, happy to broker that for you, Peter. So just get in touch. That's good. Here we go. Facebook user. When it comes to social housing, is it only commercial lenders that will look at this type of tenancy? Commercial or specialist lenders? Yes, it is. Simple reason. Standard buy-to-let lenders require the property to be let on a contract that is no less than 6 months, but no more than 12 months in duration. Social housing is normally 3 years or 5 years. So it's it's longer than 12 months. So it's a breach. Second is standard buy-to-let lenders want the contract, the rental contract, to be an AST, not any other type of rental agreement. Well, what you've got with social housing is a commercial lease, not an AST. Thirdly, it needs to be the parties to it are the landlord and the tenant in situ in the property. Well, the social housing, your contract is not with the tenant in situ, it's with the housing provider. So it's multiple breaches of a standard buy-to-let mortgage. So that's why you can't use them. And you have to use commercial or specialist lenders. Great. Chai says, morning. Now he's on my, he's another one on my advanced training program, Ninja Investor program. Now, good to see you. Right, here we go. Still a few more questions, so I'm going to hang on till I answer them. Good to see you, Ali. What do I need to do to buy an investment property using less than 25% down? Buy below the asking price, Ali. That's what you need to do. And I put the video that shows you how to shrink. Oh, something funny happened on the screen there. Did it happen on your screen too? I went all into negative for a reason. Looked like something out of a Doctor Who show, didn't it? So yeah. So you need. Hello, someone's on the phone. I'll get back to them later. Yeah. So busy old times, you see. Busy old times. So yes, you need to buy below the asking price, Ali. Done loads of these, so we can broker these. But check that video out, how to shrink the deposit down. And if you've got a deal in mind, let's broker it for you. Tarek, there we are. We've been chatting over the last few weeks. Can we obtain bridging finance in a shell company? If yes, what information would the bridge request? Not quite sure what you mean by a shell company, but bridges really aren't that fussy who they lend to. So yeah, principally yes. Give me some details, Tarek. Ping me some details, and so I can see exactly what you got in mind. But in principle, yes. Okay, so I'm over the threshold for tax. Okay, so you're a higher rate taxpayer. Okay, so you would be in a position, Sean, to benefit the most from doing a limited company, because your tax burden on your rental profits is going to be the highest. So you're going to be paying, buying your personal name, you're going to be paying 40% on any profits you make, and you can't write off the mortgage interest payments as a business expense in your personal name, whereas you can limited company. Still, everything I said before applies. Get a property savvy accountant to tell you how much tax they predict you're going to save, how much their bill is going to rise, and then come to us, Sean, and we'll tell you the difference in mortgage rates. We'll tell you how much your mortgage costs are going to increase over a year. But I think you need to consider doing this, because you're going to benefit, as much as anyone, and more than most. Tarek's repeated his question. Sean said, thank you. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, so we've got Somsay back here. Good to see you back again this week, Somsay. My broker told me that I have more than 10 buy-to-lets in my own name. He said it would have to turn limited, as some lenders don't want to lend when I hit 10 or more. Is he right? Not completely, no, he's not. So the premise of there is that you can't get a mortgage in your personal name once you own 10. Not true. Some lenders would think that you're getting a bit too big, but if you choose to carry on buying in your personal name, then and it's still tax advantageous. Going back to what I was saying to Sean, still tax advantageous to do so. You can find lenders. Some say, hey, maybe it's time you need a new broker who understands this a bit better. And we're specialists in investor mortgages. So ping me a message, and maybe we can start doing your broking and give you more sound advice. Good. Okay, so lots of other stuff. Goodness me, we've still got some stuff here. You're very active with your questions this morning. Thank you. Don't think I've missed anyone there. Here's Will. Will's coming back in with another one. Rob Percy says, thank you. Welcome, Rob. Here we are. So, morning. What is more costly for me as a borrower? Cross-collateral or loans secured on the project I'm intending to develop? Well, that depends. So cross-collateral is cross-collateral bridging. This means you borrow against a property that you already own, not the one you want to buy. Now, first question is, have you got a mortgage on the property you already own? If you have, then that's a second charge loan, whereas the property you're going to buy is going to be a first charge loan. So second charge borrowing is more expensive than a first charge borrowing. So it's only the same if you're making a first charge loan, i.e. there's no mortgage on the property you already own. So there we are. Good. We're already in touch, I know, Will, so that's good. Okay, here we are. Argo, there we are. Good to see you. Would you say it's best to have a valuation remortgage now on my property when the current market is high rather than next year? Well, the only time to have a valuation on your property is when you're looking to release equity, Argo. That should be a complete waste of money to get a valuation now, because if it's next year, then here's what's going to happen. So you've paid out a few £100 to get a valuation right now. and you say to your mortgage lender, hey, look, this is what it was worth last year. Here's the report from last year. And they'll say, so what? We want a current valuation, not a past valuation. So if you're going to, you've got to align the valuation and the remortgage at the same time. Now, if you want to remortgage it this year, why not? Okay, if you've added a great deal of value, sounds like you need our help as a broker there, Argo. So ping me a message and let's have a look at your details, circumstances, you know, in more depth. Right. So Sean says, I've just signed up for the summit in Birmingham. Fantastic, Sean. Great. Looking forward to seeing you in Birmingham. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Tika says, thanks. Good. And Mirza, there we are. We've been chatting in my Recycle Cash Facebook group. You've got a question, happy to answer it. And thanks for your posts you've put in the group that said that I do know what I'm talking about. Well, after 20 odd years, you would really, wouldn't you? If you buy a house for 150 at a discount, it's actually worth 250. Can you get a 75% bridge levied at the actual price? Yes, that's a market value bridge. Now, it would depend whether it's on the market or off the market. If it's on the market, then to get a 75% bridge at 250, the asking price would have to be 250. If it's off market, it's easier because all we've got to do is get 3 comparable values at 250. So it's perfectly possible, Mirza. If you've got a particular deal in mind, then let's message me in the way I've said previously. You can put a message in the Facebook group that you're a member of, or you can message me at Property Finance Expert. Let me drill down and help you with this. Okay, you could potentially get it 100% finance this way. You get the purchase price and the refurb this way. Well, you know, potentially you could. Yeah, it sometimes doesn't always work out quite as easy as that, but you can certainly do it with a lot less money. And that's one of the basic things that I teach on all my training is how to get into property with less cash. So happy to help you on that. Patsy says, thanks, I'll email you. Great, Patsy, look forward to chatting to you. Okay, so Mirza's back with another question. Is cross-collateral bridging suicide since the bank or the bridger can take both properties if something goes wrong? Well, that's true. They have a charge over both properties, so they could take both. If it's a second charge over a property and they're behind a mortgage lender, that's more complicated for them to do. They couldn't do it without the agreement of the first charge lender. But if something goes wrong, then most of the time it's not them, it's you. You've screwed up, Mirza. You've miscalculated the deal that you got into. I can't remember ever in 10 years having a cross-collateral bridge go wrong in that way. So there we are. Sam says, thanks for another valuable webinar. Thanks, Sam. Glad you enjoyed it. JC's back with another question. What's the highest interest difference you've seen between refinance being up before and after 6 months? It's usually not more than 1%, JC. And Mirza said, thanks. Okay, great. So there we are. We've come to the end of another. Probably had the biggest number of people watching live that I've ever had. So that's a nice thing to achieve. So good. So hopefully you've got some benefit from watching this. If you've been watching the replay, because people sometimes start off watching it but can't stay for a whole hour. So they miss the back end, or they miss the start and get the back end, or sometimes they miss it all. Whichever one of those it is, if you're watching this replay, just put hashtag replay in the comments so I know that you've actually watched it. So that's good. Okay. But you see, I sometimes think I'm finished and then someone jumps in with a question and I'm not finished. I've got another one, and JC's back with another one. Right, you're buying with a limited company. So, for example, with 6 months ownership, the interest rate will be X minus XY. Yeah, yeah. It's a bit too, and then you've gone and said 40% pre. Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, it's going to depend on your circumstances. So if you're doing this, JC, look, let's get more specific. Let's broker it for you. So ping me a message, and let's get talking. You know, we can talk generically, but you're going to find it far better if we talk specifically. Marilyn says thanks. Here we are. So great. Chris says great content as always, so helpful. Thanks. Glad you appreciate that, Chris. So I won't be back for 2 weeks now. So back on the second Monday of April. I think that's the 12th, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be, because I'm doing the 10th on the Saturday. Yeah, 12th. So I'll be back here on the 12th of April. Have a fantastic time. Have a fantastic Easter, even though you can't go anywhere. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks for watching.